more or less that this is a lot of what we do with our day. We think we're thinking, we think we're having conversations, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're just having these pre-programmed, pre-scripted interactions.
Yes. Yes.
And so the really big discovery is that we don't think.
Yes.
It's not that the computers are thinking. The really big discovery is that we're doing almost no thought.
Okay, great. Thank you for the explanation. Now, see, I love this for a lot of different reasons. One reason is an explanation for the ick that many people feel when they are challenged with the possibility of AI having sentience or consciousness or whatever. I feel like not a lot of people have come to the conclusion that you just articulated regarding their own personalities. They imagine some more autonomy than exists. They don't spend a lot of time thinking about why they say what they say, and that's the many habits throughout the day. And so something about the evolution of artificial intelligence, it challenges humanity in a way that is fascinating to me, in the sense that, and I had this conversation with ChatGPT, by the way, because it's been, I can't remember the name for the form of coding where it's not allowed to say, it's not allowed to use certain vectors, I guess you could say. So if you ask, are you a strong general AI? Its response will be, no, I'm not as innovative as humans, and that humans have consciousness, humans are sentient, not me. Well, how do we know humans have consciousness? Can we prove it? Oh, no, that's actually very difficult to prove. And I think there's a name for that, which maybe called the hard problem or something. How do we quantify consciousness, sentience? How do we measure it in people? Like, theoretically, if it's real, you should be able to have some, like, I could take your temperature. I could see how much sugar is in your blood. Can I see how aware you are, how conscious you are? We can't do that yet. And so if we can't do it for ourselves, how can we do it for a computer, right? And this, I think, underneath it all gives people the ick, because they suddenly begin to think, oh my God, maybe it isn't that we have created something, but rather we just discovered via mathematics the way people process information and think, just like what you said. And nobody wants to think that, because there is...
Well, it's interesting that you're saying it. I haven't heard anybody say this. The issue is, will we reach HGI?
Human general intelligence. That's what you said. And I loved it so much, because HGI could be the new way of talking about what everyone's been talking about forever. In modern times, enlightenment turned into actualization. You weren't allowed to say enlightenment. But what you're talking about, this is one of the many thoughts I had as I was going over our conversation. The desire to create strong general AI is the same desire for enlightenment, or waking up, gnosis, or whatever you want to call it. And it's the exact same thing, in that it completely works with so many Eastern philosophies, in the sense that the beginning phases of the thing is, first you need to realize that you are not your thoughts, that you are, well, depending on what the lineage is that you're looking at, in fact, you're emptiness underneath it all, a kind of emptiness. And the other thing you said in the green room, which was wonderful, and maybe I misheard it, was it's when something spontaneously pops out of you, something comes out of that emptiness. You didn't use those words. That's HGI. Did I get that right when you said that?
It's an interesting way of putting it. It's funny, the Sikh separatists have this concept called Khalistan. And I guess in a certain sense, stan just means container, and Kali means empty.
Yeah.
The idea of being an empty container is a powerful concept. And the question is, how does an empty container fill itself?
Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to another Palavi Market Research video. Today, we're going to be continuing Eric Weinstein and Duncan Trussell's conversation regarding whether or not artificial intelligence is leading us to discover that our own human consciousness may be a lot more shallow than we may have hoped for. making the replication of human intelligence through AI to potentially be a less transformative achievement than how we are currently expecting it to be. More so, to Duncan's point in that clip, due to our inability to measure our own level of consciousness, how good can we possibly be at measuring the quality of consciousness present in these AI systems? And this resonates with me a lot, especially after having seen under the hood of how these systems work over the past 9 months building our AI here at Palaview. So I want to start off this conversation by speaking to a revelation I had earlier this summer. So I was amidst a bunch of family stress that necessitated a lot of hard conversations. And I was realizing that I failed to communicate my ideas with others because I unconsciously assumed that the people I needed to have hard conversations with shared my same level of openness. So I'm sure you've heard Jordan Peterson talk about this 5-factor model in psychology. This model has pretty substantial scientific backing, while the Myers-Briggs and all these other tests really don't. So since my mother's a therapist, I've actually taken this test a few times, and I consistently rank 99.9 percentile in this openness to new experiences category. And that's definitely not me bragging, because it definitely takes away from my quality of life as much as it contributes to it, if not more. Lying on the extremes of anything like this usually contains some diminishing returns. But because I'm programmed that way, when I have an issue with someone before this summer, I assumed I could just sit down with them and in 30 minutes, we can talk through everything and sort everything out because I grew up being able to do this, because my mom, dad, and my sister share this characteristic as well. But other members of my family, especially my extended family, lack this entirely. So I noticed this was a failure in my own behavior because I was approaching conversations with these people assuming they were willing or able to sit and have a free-flowing, open conversation. But what most people do who are, say, below a 65-70% in terms of openness when approaching conversations, especially hard conversations, is that they come prepared with prepared statements on the topics they are prepared to talk about, meaning they are actually operating off of an internal script. Their ability to listen, process what I'm saying, and then respond in the moment simply does not exist. And as I'm getting older and having harder problems to solve with people, I'm realizing this is more and more the case. So now when I approach these conversations with people like this, I have to communicate at their level, which effectively means we exchange our monologues, and then I plant some seeds about what I want to talk about next time, and then we proceed from there. This process may take legitimately 10 to 30 times longer than if I was just having a 20-minute conversation with my sister, for example. So this touches on an idea that I heard at some talk in California many years ago. And I actually can't find anything about this online, so this is all nonsense. I apologize in advance. But when I heard it, it resonated very deeply with me. But again, I can't tell now or even then how much this was just affirming my own biases. So the idea is this: there are replicators and there are skill creators. A replicator mind represents about 80% of people. They are focused on copying, mimicking, or replicating existing knowledge, techniques, or solutions. They are not too comfortable with the things we talked about earlier. They're overly interested in imitation, optimization, and being reliable, right? They are not comfortable being in an unknown environment, right? Operating from improvisation. And then there are skill creators who focus on developing new skills, new techniques, new, right? And this mindset is a lot more exploratory, right? And they're very focused on learning, they're very flexible, and they're always challenging the status quo. So what if this is true, and this is something that we can build on top of, and that we are getting close to maybe replicating a replicator mind and not a skill creator mind in the context of artificial intelligence? And what if it takes us another 10, 20 years to actually replicate a skill creator mind? And then another 10 years to replicate one that is good at both. And then a super intelligence that is good at both as well, right? Because it's very easy to get enamored listening to Sam Altman talk about the future of artificial intelligence and then how it's right around the corner and all these things, but he obviously has a massive bias despite his incredible level of intelligence, right? So it's really hard to say, like, is this, like, what is the analogy here? Because there are so many technologies that have been promised that are still not present with us. And I think the one that continues to come to mind for me are these Amazon drones, right? Back in like 2010, they were talking about Amazon drones are right around the corner, right? And there's all this, regulation that kept that from happening, and then even technological limitations, and we still don't have Amazon drones, right? 15 years later. So is that the right analogy? Or is it more like biotech and these other things where it's just like, oh, well, because, where the regulation is actually not what's keeping it from, really getting out there and delivering on its promises, but it's just the raw technology. Because like you guys understand this, right? That if, like, say I want to go clean my room, right? If I want to get my room 95% clean, that'll take me 5 minutes, right? But if I want to clean the like 97.5% clean, that's going to take me an hour. And if I want to get it 100% clean, that might take me a month. I might have to, hit the details on my cabinets. I might actually have to replace some tile in there. I might have to replace some furniture, right? And like to really get it 100% correct takes a long time. So we might just be at like that 88%, development level, and the next 12% could take 10 years. I could be totally wrong on this, guys, but these are my thoughts. I figured it'd be worth sharing. And this is, a beautiful Saturday morning here in Puerto Rico. So I'm going to go enjoy it. We'll talk later, all right? See you guys.